Hello, everyone, and welcome to Prem Connection. Sorry about that little technical difficulty we had earlier, but we are back again, and this time we're using Zoom, and hopefully this will work. I'm Renu from... I'm Renu. That's what happens when you get four women together. I'm on...
The energy's on fire, guys.
Speak for yourself.
We don't need IT guys when you're four women on one show. We're here to give you information about how you can find love. And first of all, before you can find love, you need to learn to love yourself. And before I begin the show, I want to introduce my partner in crime, Auntie Kamal. Auntie Kamal, why do you look prettier than I do today?
Hi, Renu. How are you?
Doing good. How come you're looking prettier than me? That's not the rule. The rule
is... I'm older, so I have to apply more makeup.
Well, welcome. It's nice to see you with all your flowers at the back. And then, of course, I have my little Sheeny over there. Hi, Sheena. How are you?
Hi. Nice to see you both today, or all three of you, actually.
Are you sure you're saying nice to see you to your mom? Are you really sure you want to say nice?
That's why I changed the statement to all three of you afterwards. Don't worry.
She'll send you a text. She'll send you a text.
Our guest today, and she's going to teach us about how we need to understand love, but you need to love yourself first. Before you can go out and look for love, you have to learn to love yourself. So welcome, Ritika Rose from Life Redefined. Welcome to our show again.
Thank you.
It's so nice to have you back. And, you know, we wanted to make sure everybody could hear what you were saying. And when we were doing it before, a few minutes ago, it was all, there was an echo. So welcome to the show. So I want to begin by first asking you, why is it so, first you do your introduction and then we're going to get into it. Yeah. Tell us a little bit about who is Life Redefined.
Yeah. So Life Redefined, my coaching and wellness practice started when I made a career pivot into the coaching and healing world. My background is in medicine. I have degrees in occupational therapy and psychology, but most of my career, till I made this career pivot, was as a director of rehabilitation. So, you know, when it comes to healthcare and stress and emotions and how emotions and stress and emotions, and we're going to talk about self-love today, but a lot of that is emotional, right? How that affects the body and how that can turn into different health conditions. I know that's a little off topic, but I have a very good understanding of coming from the medical background now into the coaching and healing world, right? So I have a really truly holistic approach to understanding people in general when it comes to their physical, emotional, and spiritual up levels and healings, right? A little bit about my background. At the time that I sought out coaching and mentors, and I awoke into my higher truth and into the highest version of myself, I had taken on the most challenging director role in my career. I had, at the same time, it was the same month, three things were happening. I had taken on the most challenging director role of my career. I had lost my soulmate at the time. So I had a relationship loss, and I was also dissolving a business partnership gone wrong that had become financially and verbally abusive to the point where I didn't even feel safe to be in the same room with this person anymore. So the three things were happening at the same time. Mm-hmm. And I contribute the coaches and mentors that I had to finding my peace, finding my grounding, finding my true self, finding the skills and the tools that I needed to be at peace and acceptance with all that was happening, and especially at peace and acceptance with myself and the way that I was handling things, what I could handle at the time, how I was doing. I mean, it was everything, right? And the inner transformation was so profound for me that I was then called to train myself and learn different healing modalities and train myself as a coach and go through the program. So now I can offer the same level of service to people that may be going through the same things. I also wrote a book, which I'm going to read a little bit from today, if you guys don't mind, called Tagged You're It, Become the Leader of Your Own Life, which are the 8, life mastery skills that I had learned to perform and incorporate into my life daily that helped me to find my true self, align with myself every day, find the peace and grounding and love for myself every day while I was going through 3 major, occurrences in my life, right? So that's a little bit about me. I know it was a longer intro, sorry about that, but
no, that's okay.
Yeah, so it really is, so Life Redefined is really about me helping people redefine or define relationships with themselves, then others, and their life overall in total, right?
So you would say that the first step in achieving anything you want in your life is first you have to know who you are, right? Because I think most people never really sit down and actually define who they are. and what they really want. And, I mean, from the time you're born, right? I always say, I mean, I wrote a book for children and for parenting kids. And from the time you're born, first you spend your first 20 years doing what your parents tell you to do, right? Or the first 25 years. Look at Sheena nodding her head. And then
Some do.
yeah. And then
Some
after
don't.
that, especially in our culture, in the Indian culture, when you're about 25 or 24, you're getting married, and now you're being told by your husband or whatever, because that's our culture, what to do. When do you really define what you want and who you are? It comes much later on in life. And I've noticed, especially with women in our culture and in our clients in Prem Connection, the women that we're meeting who are in their 40s, who've either never been married or divorced, are saying, I never found time to love myself and like who I am. And now I'm already 40 or 50. How do I begin to enjoy my life? I feel like my life is over. So the first step is loving yourself, right? Am I correct in saying that?
Yeah, absolutely. And I've all my notes here that I do want to go over. Is it okay if I read a little bit from the
Yes, of
chapter of my book?
No, not at all.
So I just want to read a paragraph from my book. This is from the chapter Unconditional Love. So there is a progression till we get to this point of unconditional love, and this is what I coach and teach my clients through. But one of the last chapters is unconditional love, because we can finally get to this point, right? So I'm just going to read from here. So when we don't love ourselves, we then operate in fear of ourselves or ego, because we want to show up as perfect, mostly to be validated and accepted by others. When we love ourselves, we operate knowing we are already perfect. There is no fear or ego. There's just peace. Peace within ourselves and peace for and with others. We carry ourselves with grace, respect, and ease. So when we finally come to, I don't know if you can see it, but it's sort of like my handbook on life. So if anybody wants to know more about that, they can put it in the comments or chat. But, that's sort of where we come to, when we can finally come to a place of unconditionally loving ourselves, we start operating with that sense of respect for ourselves, with grace and with ease and with peace, right? And then we bring that out to others as well, right? And with our relationships with others, because we're finally fully content with who we are, regardless of what has happened in our life.
I have two questions. Since the time you're born, you're being defined, right? You're always defined, right? And the other thing is, because we are defined, we don't know how to love ourselves. And sometimes when somebody comes and loves us, we're like, oh, we have all these good qualities, really? How do we adjust both of them?
So good point, Kamalanti. And we were touching on that a little bit before we had to exit. So the beauty about having other people in our lives that see us and share with us how they acknowledge us, how they compliment us, the gifts they see in us, the beauty they see in us, is because sometimes when we are not seeing the best in ourselves, right? Or we are doubting ourselves, or we feel like we're not good enough, or something in our life hasn't fulfilled itself in the way that we had planned or wanted, etc. Right? So much of the inner critic can come up, right? And where we're then not loving ourselves or believing in ourselves as we could be. So sometimes when we have those people that are giving us that feedback, that's what I was starting to say earlier, the feedback is so important to have. And I really talk with my clients about this a lot, the importance of hearing feedback from other people, good and bad. But for those of us that are sort of sitting in the inner critic, the good feedback can help us to really see ourselves in a way that other people are seeing us, right? So it helps us to step into our power a little bit more when we're not feeling powerful about ourselves. So my guidance to this question is, for everybody listening, is please pay attention to when people are complimenting you, to when people are acknowledging you, when people are celebrating you, when people are thanking you, right? Really embrace that and take that in. And I'm closing my eyes doing that and holding myself, because it's really take it in and reflect on it, right? A lot of times people are telling us these things because they want to tell us it. They want us to know that they're acknowledging us, right? So the best thing that we can do is thank them for it, right?
And another leading question from there, it's all very well that people say this, but how many times people are fake to us? do we believe that?
Well,
And we know that. You know, I mean, I'm sure you've come across, Renus and Sheena, we've all come across when people have been fake to us. And do we, in any relationship, whether it's, you know, a lover or a
fake to us
friend
in a
or,
sense, like they're being fake about themselves,
no, to
showing up
you,
or they're
to
saying
you,
something to you
to
that
you,
that
you
is
know.
fake to you.
Yeah,
Mhm.
because if they're telling you you're so, you know, whatever they think, okay, but it could be a fake in a relationship, right? Doesn't matter if it's a friend, a sister, or, you know, family is different, but, you know, a boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, whatever. When they're being fake, and how do you go, you know?
So if you're feeling the energy of it being fake, right? So it is sort of, and so I'm going to come back to the original conversation we had a few weeks ago about your authentic self, right? So part of one of the first steps of self-love too is also knowing who you are, right? And accepting who you are authentically, right? So being true to yourself. And again, like that's the first chapter in the book is truth, right? So really understanding and stepping into your full truth, your authentic self. Once you know that about yourself, if you're feeling the energy of a fake conversation coming through, it's not going to bother you, right? You will brush it off. You can still say thank you to appease the situation and then just walk away because you know it's not real. But then you also know, then you get to also ask yourself, and this is part of the self-love quotient, are these the people that really that you want to surround yourself in your life, right? Self-love is about honoring yourself, right? It's about knowing what your values are. It's about knowing what's true to you. It's about keeping the energy that's aligned to you in your life, right? So if this energy is not aligning with you anymore, you can ask yourself, because I mean, for me, I wouldn't want a fake person in my life. That's just me personally, right? If I know that someone's not being real with me, I will kindly distance myself,
The
correct?
only reason why I'm saying that is when you're feeling low, right? When you're feeling low, let's say, and then you sometimes look for things, right? And if somebody is a little bit fake and you think, okay, you know, I've been harsh on myself, and maybe this is something that somebody sees in me that I haven't seen, and you accept, but then, you know, it can lead to different things, and, you know, then you are,
Could you give
you
me
know,
an example, Kamalanti? Like, do you have an example of this happening?
yes, let's say I'm in a relationship, because I've seen of a person, so nothing to do with me, you know, thank God. I've been married 42 years, and he's an amazing guy. But I've seen, you know, when they met, this person was so over the top. You're made of pearls, you're like a, you know, a diamond, you're this, you're that, you're this, right? Put them on a pedestal, got married, and abuse started, right? And if only the person could have seen this, and, you know, it never went away. It never went away, and now it's kind of like, you know, too late. They, and it's sad, and I've seen it in few relationships.
Yeah. So in situations like that with that's manipulative behavior, right? An abuser operates under manipulative behavior, and they're very good at an abuser. What they're seeking is power, right? And they know how to manipulate a situation and a conversation in order for them to be in control, right? We're not always going to know that that's happening, right? Because they're very good at doing what they do. So the person who was being abused, I mean, now I was in a business partnership, right? Like I explained in my intro. It was up to me to recognize that I was in this abusive partnership. It wasn't physical, but it was verbal and financial. It was up to me to love myself enough to get out, right? And that's the self-love process. And you may not always know in the beginning, did I think that this partnership was going to be great, like a great business partnership? It was everything that I was looking for, everything that I wanted, everything. But then I started noticing signs slowly into the business partnership, and then all of a sudden the true nature came out, right? So then it was up to me
I
to
think
finally
basically,
say,
I think
mhm,
basically what you're saying is that if one is able to love yourself and be confident, as soon as you see these signs, you will realize when you have to exit. And I think it's normally people that lack the confidence that will cling on or feel, oh my God, I can't leave because I've invested so much. Sometimes you just have to, accept failure, if you want to call it failure. I mean, I don't believe in failure. I always believe in a learning experience. I like to
it's not
call
a failure.
yeah,
Absolutely.
I like to call them learning experiences. And whether it's even hiring people, I mean, we're talking about relationships. It could be hiring people, it could be opening a business, a partnership, whatever. But one has to be able to know who you are and say, you know what, I don't need you in my life. I'm able to move on. And then also accept that if you're going to move on, it's okay that it's not the end of the world, that you can open another business. You can meet somebody else in your life. It's not the end of the world just because somebody let you down.
Right.
And I
And,
think
and
that's
a lot of times too, like in our culture, in the Asian culture, right? Things like this will happen. People won't talk about it a lot.
yeah.
They'll keep it inside. They'll stay in a marriage or a partnership just because what's society going to think, right? But another thing that I talk about when it comes to self-love is it's okay to be selfish.
Absolutely.
Selfish about yourself and your needs.
And put yourself first.
Put yourself first. And
Correct.
being selfish is not being selfish, right?
No.
It's understanding who you are, what your values are, what you need to live a life that's going to feel aligned, authentic, and satisfying to you, right? And so in situations like that, yes, Renuanti, correct. Like you have to have the confidence enough to say, no, this is not the relationship I want to be in. I do not deserve this. I deserve better to this. And it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks or says, I'm leaving.
Right. But I mean, how many people are like Renuanti or like you, right? That's the thing.
So that's
that
why this
you,
conversation is so important, right? So if people are listening
right.
to this is what the education piece is all about. Like, it's okay to do what you need to do to live your best life according to you. It doesn't matter what that is to anybody else. Self-love is knowing who you are and validating yourself and accepting you for the life that you want to live and for who you are, right?
Ritika, I do have a question for you
Yeah.
from my generation, late 20s, early 30s. What advice would you give someone who has lost a love at that age? And how would you recommend for them to proceed in their life after losing a love at such a young age?
I mean, the first thing I would say, again, I do agree with, I mean, everything is a lesson. That's something I teach my clients. Everything is a lesson, right? So and of course I work with people who have had relationship loss, and I've had it myself. So it's, we go back and we reflect back. What did we learn about ourselves through the relationship, right? Mm-hmm. What are your lists of things that that aligned with you, that didn't align with you? You take those lessons and you take it forward in what you're looking for in the next relationship, right? You did not fail in the relationship. You were not the failure. The relationship was not the failure. It just didn't work. I also talk about this in the book too. Every single person has come into our life on purpose. There are no accidents.
Right.
There are no accidents. Every person is sent to us on purpose to teach us something. That's literally like the soul's purpose, right? So whether something lasts or doesn't last, if we can take the learnings and the teachings of how did this serve us, and how did they serve us, and how did they serve them, then we can walk away with peace, right? Knowing that we learned something greater about ourselves, greater about relationships in general. And you take all of that about you, because also you grew in that relationship, right? Even though the relationship didn't last, you grew in that relationship. Each of you grew in that relationship.
Of course.
Into knowing what you wanted and didn't want. And then you can take that into the next relationship and all of your relationships going forward, right?
And I think you hit the nail on the head when you say that, because a lot of people think relationships are only about, being in love or whatever. But I think if we look at your journey of life, you can meet somebody at a party only for 10 minutes, but that person could have an impact on you that you could walk out of there saying, okay, you know what, I really learned something from this person or from their
100%.
experience. Yeah. And I think people have to be able to understand that nothing is permanent in life. And I think what happens is we grow up thinking we're going to have this fairy tale. We have stories like Cinderella, the glass slipper, the prince is going to come to the door and find you. And you think that's going to be forever and ever, because that's what fairy tales are, right? They lived happily ever after. Is there really a happily ever after? Or, we're kind of raised thinking that the journey is going to be so blissful that nothing is going to go wrong. And when something does go wrong, then we put self-blame and think, I must have done something.
And I think this is another really important point. And I did a post on this recently, but I talk about how, first of all, relationships take work, right? Everything is not just a Cinderella story, right? We know that relationships take work. And I think, I mean, part of originally when we talked about having this show today, I talked a little bit about, you know, we love how we love how we have been taught to love, right? Each of us come from different backgrounds. Each of us come from different families. Each of us come from different stories, right? How were we loved? How were we taught to love? What were we taught about love? What were we taught about who to love, who not to love, right? We bring all of that into our relationships, right? But once we recognize that, and there's a process that I go through with my clients when in the love part of our work, it really is about helping them to understand how they're showing up, right? So let's talk about love for a second. Love is not just love in the romantic love, right? Love is also empathy, forgiveness, and compassion. There are four areas to love that I talk about, at least in my practice, right? So it is, how are you loving yourself, being empathetic with yourself, being compassionate with yourself, and how much can you forgive yourself? 1. 2, how much do you allow people to love you, forgive you, be empathetic with you, and be compassionate to you, right? 3rd part of the love equation is, how do you give out love to other people? How do you empathize with other people? How compassionate can you be with other people? And how forgiving can you be to other people, right? So there's a lot in the love area of life, right? It's about yourself, it's about how you give it to others, and it's also about what you allow in. But it's a really important factor in the coaching process to really help you understand what you've learned about love, right? And how you're showing up and what you're allowing in. And then we do the work and break it down. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
I think you hit the nail on the head, because a lot of people know how to take love, but they don't know how to give love sometimes, you know.
Absolutely.
Or they want to be forgiven, but they don't know how to forgive.
Correct.
And that's just so important. Yeah.
Right.
On a fun note, what advice do you have for a single person to do this Valentine's Day?
Oh my God, love yourself. What is it that you love to do, right? What is it that you do? You love to dance? Do you want to, have a glass of wine with somebody? Or do you love cooking? Like, what is it? What is it that you love to do? Take that time. If you don't have anyone to hang out with, do it on your own. And oh gosh, guys, it's also so important. This is the other really, really, really important thing about loving yourself, is being able to enjoy time alone with yourself. That was one of the biggest lessons that I learned through my journey, right? Was, God, I actually just love spending time with myself, and getting to know myself a little bit more. So for anybody on Valentine's Day that first of all, I also just want to say Valentine's is a Hallmark holiday. I say this with love.
Yes,
right?
it is.
So nobody feel like if you're not partnered with anybody that you're alone or that, something's wrong with you. There's not. And by the way, I also want to say there are a lot of people who are partnered and coupled and married that do feel very alone in their partnerships also. So don't think that just because people have a partner or are married that they're not feeling alone. And that's a topic for another day. But I just want to put that out there, right? So don't feel bad, right?
Yeah.
Just love on yourself.
Yeah.
Right?
Valentine is all commercial.
It
Really, it should be every day. It shouldn't be just on February 14th.
Yeah.
And
every day, all the time.
Valentine doesn't have to mean you have to have a partner or be in love. And I'm so glad you brought the point about learning to live, be by yourself and learning to love your own company. Whenever I talk at these women empowerment functions, I always say that. I always say, why do women feel that they need to have company all the time? Learn to enjoy your own company, and you will some of your most brilliant ideas in life come from when you're sitting alone. Let me tell you.
When I learned that lesson, I can't tell you how profound it was to my life. Honestly, it was a huge shift in in my relationship with myself.
So we have a few more minutes. So Ritika, what I would love to do is in closing is, we're living in a world right now of turmoil. I mean, the last 12 months has been just turmoil for a lot of people. I mean, for some people, they've made tons and tons of money in stock, and that's wonderful. But I think for most people, they have suffered loss of loved ones, businesses. I mean, a big change in life, being cooped up at home. And especially for single people, a lot of them, you can't even date anymore. You have to do Zoom calls, whatever. What would your advice be in closing to people who are thinking, I don't think I'm ever going to find somebody. There's just nobody out there for me.
I mean, I don't think that that's true. Yes, let's look at the positives that have come out of this last 12 months, right? And there's a reality in this, and however people date, and I don't know if people have experienced this, right? But yes, dating originally was meeting in person, what have you, right? Now dating is happening on video or through chat or phone, or there are even some dating apps now that like you don't even see the person's face. You're literally just talking, like, I don't know, I'm not sure how they're setting it up, but they just chat in the app, and so people are getting to know each other in a different way without being in person, which also sometimes takes away a little bit of the pressure, right? It's a little bit more relaxing. So I always like to find the positive in like what's happened, right? So okay, sure, you're not able to meet someone in person right now, but what can you see the positives in dating and trying to find somebody in the new way of doing things right now until we can meet in person again, right?
You can switch off the camera on Zoom if you don't like them.
Yeah, well, I mean, and the other thing is,
on.
like, so what if, like, and now with Prem Connection, right? So with matchmaking, let's just say you have somebody in California where we are locally, right? But then you're matching them with somebody in New York. Now, a New York and California person can't meet next weekend. But guess what? You can meet on Zoom tomorrow.
Right. Or right away.
Right? Or right away. So I mean, let's look at the bright side of things, right? Just because we've been through a lot the last 12 months, there's a lot of good things that have also come out of it, right? So if you're single and you feel like you're not good, don't feel that way, right? There's always opportunities. Yes, go to Prem Connection.
Absolutely, go to Prem Connection. Well, like always, it's always such a pleasure. I mean, we could have conversation just going on.
We can go on and on
forever with you.
May I? Is
and
it
like
okay?
I said, when you get four women on a Zoom call, we're doomed, right?
I know.
But it's been. I mean, I found it so enlightening. I'm sure Kamal and Sheena have too. And we just want to really wish you the best in your venture as a life coach. I think you're fabulous. I don't think anyone has to have, some people think, oh my God, going to a life coach or going to someone, what are people going to think about me? I think all of us, the way I would look at it is you're a mentor for someone, a friend for someone. And instead of thinking I'm going to a life coach, just think I've made a new friend who's not going to be judgmental and who's going to be able to help me through different
Well, I think
parts
what's really important to understand is, I said this in one of my articles, like no Olympian got to the Olympics without a coach, right? As your coach, my best interest is your personal or professional life goals, whatever that is for you. I am your accountability partner. I am here to make sure it gets done. I'm also your mirror, right? I'm here to offer you the truth with grace where other people may not.
You
right?
champion the person.
I am that objective person. I don't have any judgments on you, and I'm not going to. That's what it is. And so, yes, coaching is very important. Obviously I learned that myself. I did a career pivot in order to be a coach. So, because it's so powerful. It's really powerful to have someone that really sees you, understands you, has your best interests at heart. And it's a safe place to come and explore all of what you're feeling, all of your emotions, and really have someone there to keep you on track with the goals you want for your life. So I'm offering, is it okay? I know
please do, but go ahead and give your offer.
For your listeners, and we'll have to put it maybe in the link that we share. I'm offering a self-love healing service on Monday at 7 p.m. For a limited group of people. If anybody wants to come in, they can meet me personally. I can meet them. We'll go through some exercises, around self-love, and we'll go through some meditation and reflection, and I'll give some like intuitive healing guidance to everybody around what questions they have or what they're facing right now. If anyone's interested in that, I'd love for them to come in Monday night at 7 o'clock, and we can put the link in
Yes, if you can
share
send
this
us the
video.
link, we'll put it in
Yeah.
with
And
the
this
posting.
is just for your listeners, and you
We'll
know,
make
I'm
sure they
offering
mention
this for
Prem
free.
Connection
Yeah.
when they reach out to you. I think you already have one raising her hand right over there.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, come, Sheena, invite your friends. I'm keeping it, you know, I mentioned this to you guys, but I don't do large groups. I like to keep them to smaller because I really like to give everybody one-on-one attention.
Right.
And so if anyone's interested in coaching and learning more a little bit about me in person or what I do, then it's a good opportunity for them to come meet me and
Very good.
explore a little bit of who I am.
Absolutely.
So hopefully that's okay for you guys. Yeah.
Of course. And thank you so much. And I know we're going to be bringing you back for another show for sure, because it's just so engaging to have you. And I feel so enlightened myself already on a Thursday evening. I was having a brutal last 4 days. So this has been wonderful.
Oh, no. Yes.
Okay.
Everybody go love on yourself every day.
Every
All right.
day.
Every day.
Yeah.
From all of us at Prem Connection, thank you for tuning in. And remember, we're here on Thursday nights at 7 o'clock. Today was a little technical difficulty. We call it Indian timing. We're a little late, and that's okay. But we'll be back next week again with another guest for you. And actually, next week's guest is going to talk about the importance of having a pet, because even keeping pets is good company for you. We'll see you next week.
Can't wait.
Bye.
Bye-bye.